in this Photoshop tutorial, we're going to be looking at adjustment layers. So we'll be taking a look at all of the adjustment layers that's the options we have on the adjustment layers section in Photoshop, and we're going to be exploring them. So basically today we're going to be looking at changing the hues of clothes, changing the hues of materials, irrespective of what it is. So it's just like e-commerce. A lot of things that you see available in different colors. You see a sneaker, but it's available in blue, black, red, green. So that's changing of hue, and we're going to do that with the hue adjustments in Photoshop. Then we'll take a look at the rest. But in the lesson, we're also going to look at how to use some selection to pencil. But then let me just say, let's actually get into this. Alright guys, so in today's video, I'm just going to start with a very basic clothes. So the idea is you don't really need the best of the best pictures that you want to use. You could just take maybe your friend's picture or your own picture. You can decide to change the hue. So you can decide to just change the hue of the clothes, the hue of the wristband, if the sneaker, it depends. But the concept works for various materials. So for today, I'm going to be going through the recent pictures I've been taking for my social media handles. So that reminds me, you can follow me on Rocky Robot Designs for my graphic designs, for my graphics. Then you can follow me on Rocky Robot Bond for model filmmaking and things relating to cinematography in general, sound design and all of that. Then for Rocky Robot Writes, that's my third IG account. It's for write-up. So basically, we use the application of Photoshop, creating of carousels, to make quotes, to make write-ups look more pleasing to your target audience, or to the consumer, or to the people that are your target audience. So that's by the way. So I'm just going to be going through my gallery, Rocky folder, 25th birthday. So I've been taking some pictures because I have to be a model by force, Just try a lot of things. Don't just stick to one thing. You never know what will work. So you just explore. It's always good. So I'm going to go to the pictures I've graded already, and I just want to check which one should I pick, which one should I pick. What I'm also looking out for is a cloth or a material that will not stress me, but that is almost inevitable in design. Because what if your client comes and they're like, oh, we want you to do this particular thing, and it's actually going to stress you. You still have to do it. So let's just check this. 25th PG. Let me go to the day. The day, graded JPG. Okay. So I have a lot of pictures here. Let's just preview. 1, 2, 3. Okay, but then the chain on my neck, we'll have to mark that out. Okay, I think let's do this. Alright, okay, let's do this. This will be easier to work with. This fixed 10 of 12. So the first thing we're going to look at, I know you are very new to Photoshop. So one of the things that we'll look at is various ways of importing your picture. Now, a very easy way, my favorite, is to click and drag my picture, Alt Tab, go to Photoshop and just drop it. Just like that, then you see the picture on your screen. You see it on your screen. This is one way. That's my favorite way, actually. The next one is you can go to File. Okay, I prefer to open as Smart Object. Why you don't want to open your picture as a Smart Object is because it retains quality. If you open it as a raster image, by the time you zoom in, expand, and change the size, it will be pixelated. But then when it is a Smart Object, you can zoom in and zoom out and the quality still remains the same. So basically, it gives you some vector qualities, but still not like Illustrator, not like an SVG file. So I'm going to the day, graded JPG. So the pictures you're seeing here are the camera raw file. Oh, I went to open the camera raw file. That's not what I want. So this is just showing us Lightroom, but that's not, okay. Camera raw, still a basic version of Lightroom, but that's not our target. File, open as, graded JPG. Okay, so this is the file we'll be working on today, this picture. So what we're going to do is we want to make a selection around the clothes. So the clothes is our target. We want to change the hue of just the top. So I'll zoom in with Ctrl+. If you can't zoom in, Ctrl+, Ctrl- to zoom out. Ctrl+ to zoom in, Ctrl- to zoom out. Or you can come to Windows, look for Navigator. So this opens the Navigator. You can make it bigger if you want. Then you can zoom in with this, with the slider, and you can move this around. Now, what I want to do now is you can hold spacebar to activate your hand tool. So you click and drag, so you can move your screen. You can move it around just like that. Then when I'm done, I can leave it. So, but then when it's out, you see that you have the zoom tool. So to zoom out, you just do Control 0, not Control letter O, but Control 0. So you need to remember all of this shortcut key because it helps you work faster. So straight up, I'm going to be using my pen tool. So under the pen tool, what I'm just doing is I clicked, and you have a lot of options. You have the pen tool, the freeform pen tool. Basically, you don't need to stress yourself with everything. What you need is to be very objective. What is the goal I want to achieve in today's edit, and just do it. So if what you need to know is just one thing to get the job done, do that one thing. While you keep on practicing, or while you keep on making magic, you get better with the rest of the tool. So I'm going to zoom in to, now I'm using the spacebar, my hand tool, to move. I'm zooming in with my pen tool, and I created this new layer by clicking on the plus here. So let me check to ensure I'm recording my screen. Oh wow, we're good. So I like zooming into as much as 500%, but this is a camera picture, so we won't be needing that much of zoom. So you'll be seeing this rubber band tool. If you don't have it in your own, what you do is you click on that gear icon, check the rubber band. You see that it is off. But when it is off, you can't necessarily see what you're doing because you see. So I prefer working with the rubber band. You just leave it on so you can have an idea of what you're doing. So now it takes a while to get the hang of the pencil. In fact, I tell people that once you know how to use the pencil, half of your stress in Photoshop is actually solved. Because a lot of tricks, a lot of things that you need to do, you can just easily pull off the stunts with the pencil. So it's very difficult, but if you do take your time to master it, you're going to enjoy it in the long run. So that's what we'll be using. We'll be using the pencil. So what I'm doing here is I'm making a selection around my clothes. I can hold the Control key to move the anchor points. I'm using the Alt key, then I click and drag like this. Yeah. So spacebar, I move. And if you are working with a small screen, or if you are working on a small screen, you can press the tab key. It gives you a bigger menu. Or you can use the full screen, F for full screen. So it gives you a better view, but I think I'm okay with the normal view. You press your P to go back to your pen tool. So what I'm doing now is I'm making a selection. You may be wondering that, what's this Rocky guy doing? But when we get to the end, you're actually going to understand it. So for a lot of entrepreneurs that we have out there, it means that you don't really have to stress yourself marketing or going to buy 5 different sneaker shoes just because you want to tell your audience that you have the various colors available. All you just need is one, whether it is white, whether it is black, any color. Then you can pay your graphic designer to help you change the hue for all of the sneakers. Then you can now post available on different colors in your website or your e-commerce platform. So still making a selection. So you see that the navigator panel is letting me know exactly where I am on the screen, so I'm never lost. So what I'm doing is I'm clicking and I'm dragging. I'm clicking and I'm dragging. And it may be looking like I'm just getting the hang of it, but I can tell you, almost, when was it? I think it was 2015 when I started doing, when I started using Photoshop. The pencil was very frustrating. Like it's frustrated me very well. But then I was into this thing, artworks, cartoon art. So I kept doing various cartoon arts. Maybe I'll show you while you're watching this video, just a few. So after doing like 10, you can imagine that definitely I would have gotten the hang of the particular art. So the key to achieving mastery is consistent practice. The key to achieving mastery is consistent practice. You can zoom out, Control 0 to see what we've done so far. So we're doing a good job. Let's zoom in back. Let me just use the navigator. Move it back here. All right. So keep on selecting, and you have to be meticulous. You have to be very careful. Don't just do shabby work. You know, anything you're doing, ensure it is good, ensure it is close to perfect. Because the only way to get people to keep patronizing you or people to actually respect you is when you do a great job at everything. So anything that concerns you, ensure you always do a great job. So selection. pencil adjustment layers. So we go on. You see, I'm not just clicking on. And you don't do this. Don't do that. See, if you are clicking like that, it will not be soft, it will not be smooth. So you wouldn't want to do this. I'm just going to press Ctrl Z. Yes, to redo in Photoshop is Ctrl Shift Z. It's not Ctrl Y. In case if you've been battling with your keyboard things, it's actually Ctrl Shift Z. Ctrl Shift Z. So Ctrl Shift Z, Ctrl Z. That's what I do. So all of this pinkish stuff that you see on the picture is actually called chromatic aberration. You can fix that while you are grading your picture when you are done editing your picture. So what I'm doing now is being very careful. And one of the reasons you can see this color is because of the speed light. So the speed light shines a lot of light on its subject. So that's why you can see this chromatic aberration, but it can be fixed in Lightroom. You can also fix it in Photoshop. But it's only when you really zoom in, that's when it is noticeable. So you see how stressful this is? Yeah, it is stressful. Don't let us say it's easy. It is easy, but then it's still stressful. You know? So you just have to be very meticulous. Alt, click. If this guy is very long, if that strand is very long, you see the way it's making our pencil misbehave. So you can alt click on it, drag it back in position. Alt click it, let it leave the way. You can zoom in more to get a better view of what you are doing. You zoom in using Ctrl plus, like I said, or you can use the navigator panel. So I'm done like this. So I'm just clicking and dragging, clicking and dragging. So I've told you, don't bother about the chromatic aberration. This picture I've actually gone through a whole lot of editing. So and since it's my picture, I'm a bit careful about the chromatic aberration because it's my picture, it's not for a client. But if it's for a client, I'll be very meticulous, I'll be circumspect about the whole thing. So, alright. So I think zooming in is alone, in fact, taking sort of more time. So, alright. But the thing is, it makes your work perfect. Much more better. I can alt click on the anchor to remove it. So now everything is fresh. Spacebar to move. I need to see what's that. Okay. So remember, it is the cloth that is our target. So let me zoom out so it'll be faster in some sense. But if it was me normal, I zoom in up close. Let's use F so we can see more. So what I just did there was to tap the shortcut key F to sort of switch between the full screen mode. So there are various modes to go full screen. Okay. So it may look like I'm getting these ones, but you'd have to try again. That's, you try a particular style. If it doesn't work, you redo your pencil tracing or the path you are creating. Actually, it's a path you are creating. So like this now, that place is funny. So Alt click on it to bring it down. And okay, it's of two things. I could make this picture available, or you could actually use any picture at your disposal. So it depends. But you could actually use any picture that is available to you. It's not necessary it's a camera picture. You could just use a phone image. It works perfectly. A phone image. You can even snap the clothes in your house or your wardrobe, things like that. And you can practice with it. You can even practice with your father's car, you know. Change or your own car. Because saying your father's car is sort of like, and you're not old enough to have your own car. So you could practice with your own car as well. Anything that is yours, your wristband, your action figure, you could change the color. So we just continue with this. Yeah. So easy, Ctrl Z, easy peasy lemon squeezy. So we just continue like that. I know the selection is sort of out here, but we can always refine our selection. So let me just go back and ensure that I'm actually recording. Yeah, I'm recording. It would be a shame thinking I'm recording and I'm actually talking to myself. You don't ever want that to happen to you, trust me. Because it takes time, the energy, the effort. If you have somebody filming you, like in my case, I have my colleagues at work helping me mount the camera. So imagine somebody is busy and they're like, okay, let's do this for 1 hour, and you don't record your screen. It won't be funny, because you'd have to repeat the same process all over again, and that's if you're not burnt out. So Ctrl Z to redo. So you just have to take your time with this selection. You have to take your time out here. See that I'm moving it. So you can always go back to move stuff. You see? So now we can continue. I'm using the space bar and the hand tool. Once you press the space bar, automatically it activates the hand tool. So what you need to do is use your mouse, you left click to move your screen. That's just what I'm doing. So it's actually faster like that. And when you're working cross-platform, across every Adobe suite, you need to sort of create your own style of work so that you are more productive with whatever time you have left. So remember, let's zoom out, Ctrl 0. We're tracing it back to the neck. So I can use the zoom tool. I just tap Z for the zoom tool. I click over where I want to zoom in, it zooms in there. I click over where I want to zoom in, it zooms in there. And that's because scrubby zoom is off. If your home is not like that, you can toggle between scrubble zoom. So this scrubble zoom, you see what it does? Yeah, but I'm a big fan of the scrubble zoom unchecked. Unchecked, yeah. So zoom in, spacebar moving. Like that. So you really need to take your time with this one. There's no rushing knowledge, honestly. If you don't understand anything, you need to take your time to ensure you comprehend it. So remember, our priority is the clothes. Ctrl Z. I think this is good. Okay. So, or click there to disappear or to eliminate the rubber band over there. So what the rubber band does is to tell you how your next part, that's the part you're drawing, how it is going to pan out. And I know you must be saying parts, that's PHCH. I'm going to show you where it says here. We actually have a parts panel, the same way we have a layers panel. So what you have here at the right of your screen is layers. And I'm sorry if I did not mention it earlier. If your layers panel is not there, you can come to Windows, click on layers just to check it on. So if you notice that any panel is missing, you can always come to the Windows menu bar to look for it and toggle it on and off. So you don't want to select the chain. Yeah. Okay, so if you look at what we have here, okay, so Ctrl 0, you see that everything is selected, but imagine going through all of this stress and you mistakenly lose your selection. Let me save it first before I mistakenly lose the selection by trying to explain to you. So you saw what I just did there. I moved from the layers panel to the parts panel. Then you see your work parts. That's these are our selection. That's the part we're creating. So you double click on it to save it. I can name it. What should I call it? I'll call it sweatshirt. Sweatshirt. The idea is maybe for any reason I lose what is here. Where is the part? Do I have to start again? No, we don't have to. So what we just do is you go to your part, click on it, and it is back. Now what we need to do is we need to change our part to a selection, because it is the selection that we want to work with. So from the selection, we'll go to our adjustment layer. So we go back to our layers panel, and what we want to do is there are various ways to convert to selection. So you could just right click with your pencil, make selection, feather 0. Don't worry about the in-depth understanding on some of this stuff. Just take it one step at a time. I'm still going to go through feather, we can extend that in photo editing, even in Photoshop here. But you see that what we have here is we have ant-like movements across the selection we've made, that's across the sweatshirt. So it is the ant-like movement that makes you know that okay, the selection is active. Now either that way, or you go back to parts and you click on this. You see, it turns it to a selection for you automatically. So I feel working with just right clicking and making a selection is faster compared to coming to the part, but anyone that works for you. So the idea is you can convert a part to a selection, and you can convert a selection to a part. So yeah, all right. The next thing I want to do is before we even go there, just to explain a few things, I can Ctrl D to deselect. Then I can come here. Now, there are various ways you could have made the selection. You could have used the quick selection tool, but then it doesn't always work the way you want. It doesn't. You may have to take your time. I just enjoy using the pencil more than anything, but who knows? Let's try. Okay, I'm clicking on an empty layer. You'd want to click on, let me just make a copy, Ctrl J to make a copy, or Ctrl Z to undo, right click. There should be something like duplicate. If there is no duplicate, okay, look at duplicate, okay. Or you could have just come here, drag it to the new layer, and it makes a copy for you. So I can turn this off. You can even lock the original to ensure you don't miss it or you don't lose it. So you see, so this is what you call an automatic selection, but sometimes it selects other things for you, so you have to take your time to refine. See, this is what I was trying to avoid. So this is not how I want to work, and the selection will be rough. You still need to use non-destructive editing to make it better, but overall you see that it's doing some pretty nice job, though it has the handband selected. What you can do is come back to your quick selection, Alt. When you hold the Alt key, change this to negative, then you can subtract the selection. But working with the pencil is just straight to the point. It's just simple math. It's linear. So you could use that, Ctrl D, and let's say it's the old image or the old person or the old subject you want to select. You could use object selection too. But the 2022 Photoshop comes with a software that analyzes your image, then it does the selection for you automatically. So all of those pencils that we did, you don't actually need it, depending on the task you want to accomplish. But then it is very useful. You see, my subject is already highlighted. So if what I needed was to remove the subject from a background, I could just use the object selection tool, and automatically it makes the selection for me. Wow, this is great. Then just use Ctrl J, turn this off, and you can see I'm removed from the background. So if you want to put me somewhere else, you could just do this. So very easy. That's for the object selection tool. In the previous versions of Photoshop, it was not, the object selection tool was available, but what you had to do was you'd use the selection tool. You'd have to like click over your subject, then it analyzes the contrast between the foreground and the background, also the materials that your subject is wearing, to make the selection. Overall, I'm a big fan of the pencil, overall. So Ctrl D to deselect, you come back to your part, click on it, it activates it. Click on the selection, load part as selection. So this particular panel or this particular action will convert your part to a selection. Now that you've done this, press V to go back to your move tool, or you right click here. The artboard tool as it chooses, we are going to look at that when I cover a tutorial on carousel designs. Carousel designs, that's when we're going to use the artboard tool majorly. So I come to, this is my adjustment layer actually. This is my adjustment panel. So you have solid color, you have gradients, you have pattern, you have all of these things. But what we want is hue and saturation. Hue and saturation. So what I like to do is I like to use clipping marks to tell the hue and saturation that the only thing I want you to change its blend is the selection I have made. But then because of the marks that is here, let me make it bigger. Panel option, yeah. Let me make the thumbnail size bigger. All right. You can see that the parts we have here, the black and white show here is the selection I made. So without even clipping it to the subject, it works marvelously. But we're still going to look at clipping marks. We're still going to do that. So what I did is, you see, you can change this hue, but then I think it would be better if you click on the colorize option. You see how it is changing the hue, but let's click on colorize. You see, it looks more natural. Way more natural. Is this not cool? It looks like this is my original clothes that I was wearing. This is the original color of the clothes. But then you'll be looking at the brand logo that is there, the TFB. It is stained, sort of like it is also part of our selection, and we don't want that. So all we can do is we can use non-destructive editing to clean that out. But before we do that, I'd just like us to save it file, come to export, quick export as PNG. Then you would want to pick this. So I have a folder where I do everything. I think is the course folder, course. So shoot. All right. So this is shoot B. This is my second shoot. The first shoot is definitely on how to download and install Photoshop. So I'm going to call this. What was that color? It was looking pinkish purple. Is anything like pinkish purple? I don't know. But then that's how you have color code. Color code is very awesome. You don't need to know the name of the color. Just sample the color and you get the hexadecimal code in base 16. That's for our maths people out there. All right. Now that we've saved the image, we could go preview it just to get an idea of what we're doing. Course, shoot B. So here's our pinkish purple, but then you see it looks good. So what I want to do is want to use non-destructive editing to make the logo white. That's the TFB logo. TFB logo. So okay, we come back to Photoshop. You'd want to click on your hue. That's the layer marks that you see there. You click on it. You zoom in. Yep. Remember how I said you zoom in like that? You click on Z to activate this zoom in. That's the zoom panel there. If yours is not showing like this, you can click on that arrow. And if you see that there are some tools that are missing, you come here, edit toolbar, and you tell it to load everything basically. So for me, I loaded all of the tools, so I don't have any tool hidden because I do quite a lot of work, and some things are hidden. Is just like the mixer brush you use for frequency separation, it is hidden. So to activate the zoom tool, you ensure that scrubby zoom is off. You zoom in, then B. B is for my brush. B is for my brush. So you see that you press D to change it back to the default color. You can use X to switch the color there by your left. So what you want is the colors to be black or white. If you come here, see that the colors changes that you're working out of the layer maps. So you click on the thumbnail. Now I make my brush bigger. So what I can do is this. Okay, the hardness, I don't want it to be too much. Now you see what I did there. Now the part that is not our selection is black. The part that is our selection is what? Is white. It's basic. So now what do I do when I want to reveal a part? I paint it black, then it becomes what? Visible. That's the layer I have beneath, it becomes visible. So you could do this. Or there's another, I think we can use our quick selection too. So I can just do Ctrl Z. Let's use our quick selection tool. So I'm reducing the size of the brush by using the square brackets. That's the square bracket, the open and close square bracket. So the open square bracket is to make your brush smaller. The closed one is to make it bigger, from what you can see on your screen. So what I want to do is make a selection. Okay, you see that this is working. So all of the tools in Photoshop has its place. all you just have to do is you have to know how to use it and when to use it. How to use it and when to use it. So I've selected the F. So what we want to do is also add to our selection, make it smaller so I can move around. Make it bigger, let's see. So you'd have to do this meticulously, but I think I would have preferred just to use the pencil to just do this, you know. Just do this. So let me turn this off. Let me see if it will be easier doing it without the. So I click here and do this. Let's see. Does it work? It's still the same thing. So let me leave it on. Let's just. What do we do? What do we do? Okay. I can press G. Go back here. G. G will activate my paint bucket. So I can use the paint bucket to paint it. The fore color is black. Click on it. It hides it for me. Ctrl D to deselect. Zoom out. You see, it's clean. It's neat. So you just have to do that for the remaining one. Let me just use the pencil. The pencil will be fast. You see. So I just prefer using the pencil. Even when you move to Illustrator, learning to use the pencil will really make things easy for you. Because a big part of illustration, making illustration, is actually using your pencil. Especially when you start using your Wacom tab or you're using Photoshop on iPad. Depends. We just continue. Just carefully making our selection. You see, I'm trying to be. As far as I was using the Wacom tab I have here on me, it would actually be faster, but then I know not everyone there has the tool. So let's just use something that we know everybody can get, which is a basic mouse. But maybe in some of my classes moving forward or some advanced class, we cover that. Or when we're looking at retouching courses, we also cover that. Because retouching with the iPad is, I said iPad, retouching with the Wacom tab is amazing, especially for PC users or for Mac users. So you see, you can work with the brush tool alone. So let's just use the brush tool for this part, for the B part. Let's use the brush tool alone. So B, brush, make it bigger. So X. You see, I'm just painting over it. You may actually feel this is better, but it depends on you. If it was with the Wacom tab, I would actually prefer doing this because I can freestyle. So you see what I'm doing? Yeah. Okay. So this is another way. So what you call this is non-destructive editing. That's what it's called. Non-destructive editing. So I'll tell you why it is non-destructive editing. It is because you can always redo and undo, unlike when you permanently just make it permanent, basically. When you permanently delete something or when you permanently take an action, you can't go back. But with non-destructive editing, you can always turn them off and you can always turn it on. That's if I was doing it on a different layer anyway. But still with this, if I want to redo it, all I just have to do is tap X to switch. Then I can paint over it again so that I'm painting it back. But that's not what I want. So I've been able to achieve this and I'm going to save it. File, export, quick export as PNG. Pinkish purple, 000, enter. Now the next thing that I want to do is, now it seems we have a perfect selection. So what we can do is we can now play with a lot of hues. Whoa, I think let's play. This color is good. Let's play with this lighter, soft. Let's go down deeper. Now it is looking more real. Nah, this is looking fake. You don't ever want to make your design look fake. People will be like, hey, it's Photoshop. And it was Photoshop by a rookie. You wouldn't want that. So you always want to do a clean, sweet job. File, export, quick export as PNG. So all I call that color is it relating to cyan. Just call it blue variation. So you could play with a lot of things, you know. Play with a lot of color. Let's make it deeper so it is realistic. Let's just Ctrl Z. Okay. Let's just. I like this color. File, export. Quick export as PNG. Pinkish purple. 001. Enter. So remember, what we're trying to do is make a particular product available in different color for our clients. So quick export as PNG. I just call that. Let me just be using English purple for everything. Enter. So you play around. So you can always isolate. Oh, I like this color. This is so real. It even matches the trouser. That's cool. So quick export as PNG. Package purple 003. So use my number. Look. Enter. What else? Let's see. Do you have any sweet color? Any other sweet color? Any other sweet color? Any sweet color? This is looking fake. This is looking like all these rich guys vibe, you know, coming from maybe our place Ikoyi or Eco Atlantic. You know, I think if we're talking rich, maybe coming back from the States would actually sound very rich. I'm coming back from the States, Abia States. Okay, let's just play around. You never know what your consumer can like. So what you want to do is you always want to give them options. You always want to give them options. So, I mean, this is good. This is good. So for all of you out there running brands, you know, doing a lot of working with a lot of products, you don't necessarily have to start making it from scratch. Especially when we start looking at mockups, I'm going to show you how to, you know, create a full brand. A full branded clothes without going to the market to make anything. You just use Photoshop to make everything. Then it's after your consumers have paid, when you've posted it, available in various colors and they make their orders. That's when you go to the market to now start making your procurement of the materials you want to use. So it saves you even cost of production. The only person you just have to settle, or the only person you have to pay, is your brand designer, your brand manager, or your visual and graphic designer. 5. All right, so let's go back there. And in case you're wondering what viewer am I using, I'm using Picasa. I love Picasa. It does have the background and I can just focus on my image. So you can see it here. This is what you call available in different color. So you can see that the fact that we maxed out the TFB logo, that's the fashionista brand on IG, it makes everything I wear, so you can check that out on IG. So you can see from the variation, you can see that this looks so real. So you have to take your time to ensure that you're making a very good selection. So when people look at it, they can just believe that yes, this is epic, this is real, and this is the deal. I like this color. Oh my god, I like this. I'm just send this to my designer for him to just make some stuff for me that, you know, this is cool. This is not looking so real. This is not looking so real. It's looking like some nice party image, and you know, you have this. You have this. So this is good. Now, still on the adjustment layer, once you check the panel, so this is for changing the hues of cloth, and this is amazing. A big shout out to Activators Online. You know, this is AL Base that was shooting all of this. So please subscribe to AL Online on YouTube. You can visit YouTube AL Online. You see a lot of their videos. So shout out to AL Online. You can also check them out on IG, or check us out on IG at Activators Online. You could also follow our sport, which is Activators Sport, and I think we're starting one. I'm just going to, it's a secret. So it's called AL Arts, Activators Arts. But just keep abreast of that. So don't forget to follow your own boy, yours truly, Rokrobot Designs on IG, Rokrobot Bond on IG, Rokrobot Right. You can look me up on LinkedIn as Fayemi Oluwatobiloba, Oluwafunsho, Oluwashin. Yes, the name is very long, but I'm proudly Yoruba, Nigeria. Okay, so what are the other things we can do with our selection? Let me go back to my sweatshirt selection. You know, I just want to group this, Control G. So group, name it, what do I call it? Available in different colors. Available. I'm available. I'm available. Delete that. So I want to make a copy of that. Switch it on, turn that off, bring it down. So what I want to do is, I want that part as a selection, as usual, a selection. So let's play with quite some things in the adjustment layer section. Solid color, let's see. This is looking like it's useless, right? I know. Let's try something. Blend mode. You feel me? So you see, it's sort of like changing the hue of the cloth, but then you also have to look at, you know, the blend mode you are using. So these are various blend. Wow, I love this. This is looking like some rich man guy. And Okay, look, using a very sharp and contrasty color, if we zoom into this portion, it's like our hand is sort of selected. So what do we do here? What we can do here is still use non-destructive editing to clean it out using the brush. So before my brush, F to make it bigger or sort of like a fuller screen. So I'd want the hardness to be softened. Let's see what I have here. Okay, Ctrl Z, X, yeah. So I want it soft. So we continue with our non-destructive editing. This is so cool. I love this. Like I really do love this. So if you want to soften the edges of all of your selection, and you want to make it look more real, you can always use the brush to just, clean over it. Can you see that this is just beautiful? Like Photoshop is a masterpiece, honestly. Shout out to Adobe. Shout out to Adobe. So you can smoothen the edges. You see what we're doing? Let me reduce the hardness, make the brush size bigger. So what will happen is, what you'd notice is we'd get a more realistic looking image, something believable. That was too much. X to switch, yeah. So what I'm doing is, I think I'll just prefer clicking. But you can actually take your time to refine this. I won't want to, waste your time watching me refine a selection just to make it better. But you can take your time to do this. You see, this is making it look cool. I mean, this is cool. This is cool. So I'm just gracing the edge. If you back on you, like just small soft touch. So continue like that. You can spend all day doing this, depending on your motivation. So like that, I just want to make something cool, something I'd be proud of, to show off to people that I did this. You actually did this? Yes, I did. And all of these basic concepts, they actually help a lot, especially if you want to work as a visual designer, because there's a difference between a visual designer and a graphic designer. So a visual designer is the one that is concerned about the brand, everything branding. They are the one that drafts it, the ideas, the concepts, what they want to do. So what a graphic designer does is to work hand in hand with a visual designer. So a graphic designer achieves the goals of a visual designer. Visual, definitely from vision. So we can have a cooler edge. Let us do this. Let's see what we have at the end of the day. So remember, non-destructive editing. Ctrl Z. Any part that is missing, you can pin them back by changing to white. You see, you pin them back. X to switch. Space bar. You see the way I'm moving. My navigator is not there. Where are you, navigator? Here you are. Oh, I'm so fine. Lucky robots. So. Just do your thing, Just do a good job. See the way, just graze the edge. Where are you? So, how long do you have to continue? Do you continue with this or let's look at something else? So, alright, you can always go back to refine. If it's not really that cool, you can just, Ctrl Z until you go. Okay. But I believe you get the idea. The idea is the cocoa. That's the nitty-gritty of this whole thing. The idea. Okay, so I've been able to show you here. What I'm trying to show you is, this is not what I want. Solid color, feel. Let's do this again. Let's try this. Let's turn this off. Let's turn that off. Let's come back to our path. switch it, make selection, solid color. Let's try something. So this is the feature I actually wanted. Okay, but let's put it on overlay. So you see, there are various ways to achieve the same thing. I like this color. So, and we didn't have to use hue and saturation. Still from the selection we made initially, what we just did here is to use a solid color, then we changed our blend mode from normal to overlay, and you see that we can play around with. I love this color. Let me save this. File, export, quick export as PNG. Purple, let me call this, by using solid color. So this is sort of like exhibit A, control, oh, I can't move stuff. Can I move stuff around? Go to Shift N, exhibit A. Sounds like a crime scene. Exhibit A. Move. Yeah, we're there. Control Shift N, exhibit B. Exhibit B, what do I call this solid color? That is like gray. It's not really grayish. Still, thank God for hexadecimal color coding. Every color, even green is not green. There are thousands of colors under green. So thank God for hexadecimal coding. Thank God for mathematics actually. Because mathematics is all about computer. Not for maths, there will be no computer. So you see, it looks so real. Look at the texture of the clothes. It's still there, you know. It's still there. So these are various ways you can just change the color, and there's still some things you can do to make this cool. I hope I've been recording. Yeah, I've been recording. So what you can do is, once you've picked a texture that you feel is okay, you don't have to move it around here. You can just keep that particular, will I call it variance, or that particular spot. So this, you can see that, remember how we erased the previous one, and that was the TFB, how we made it very clear, very clean. So you could still use non-destructive editing to erase that part out, which will make it look more real, honestly. So we could save this, you know, we could go on and on. Let's just save quite a variety. There's file. Okay, I have to click OK. Well, this color is not looking so real. Let's still save it. Export, quick export as PNG. Gray 00 000, enter. Okay, double click again. This is cool. I love this color. I love colors. Yeah, gray 001. Okay, double click. You get the idea. So let's go see another magic we could perform. Let's make magic. Path. Switch it. Make it a selection. Or you know what? Instead of using that selection, which is everything, Control D, escape, V, escape, P, pencil, escape. Yeah, that works. Let's go back to this selection where we remove the TFB. Let us save it as a path. You see, we saved it as a path. But I'll still go back, Control click on this to use it. Then I'll come here. Let's see, pattern, brightness and contrast. So you see, you can, this is nice. So if you want to add brightness or you want to reduce the contrast of a particular cloth, you could do it here and it reveals more features from your subject. So brightness, you see, if you want more contrast, you see, reduce the brightness. So you could do some things here. I guess this is the real gray. So let's call it gray 002. That's for brightness and contrast. Let's use the selection, Control click. What I did there was to Control click on the layer mask to activate it as a selection. Then levels and curves. I love this guy. Level and curves. So this controls your shadows. The one by the very left. The one here that is looking mild is your mid-tone, while the one looking very bright is your highlights. So you can use the levels to reveal, you know, you can use it for a lot of things, even when you are doing photo retouching to get some features hidden. I use it for air clarity. Okay, I use the curves as well, so for that. Then I invert the layer marks and tint over it. We are also going to look at that when the time comes, or you could just ask me questions about it in the comments below or in the comment section. I think this is good. This is good. So control this. So we can now work with this from curves. You see curves, you see what it does. The S, quite popular. Yeah, so from here, so the selection, solid color. Oh, Vibrance. I love Vibrance. Let me show you what Vibrance does. Control D to deselect. Vibrance. Alright. So there's a difference between saturation and vibrance. When you increase saturation, what it does is to give a boost to every pixels you have in your image, every color. It pumps it up. Boom. But what Vibrance does is the very weak colors, that is what Vibrance boosts. So any color that is not too sharp, that is looking dull, sluggish, Vibrance just give it some fizz, some jazz, So let's just do it here. Increase. You see that? That is Vibrance, baby. That's Vibrance. So much drama. So that's Vibrance, and let me show you what I mean by inverting the marks. Control I, marks inverted. My brush tool, where you at? B. Now I can paint over. Change it to white. I can paint over the side I want to reveal. I believe you are seeing this. If you see our layer marks, you see that I've painted over that side. Let's do it on something that is more obvious. Let's do it on my face. Let's see. Can you see that the part I brush over gets more boost? So this is Vibrance. And when I told you, or when I mentioned inverting marks, that is what I meant. So let's just see before and after. Can you see that? Vibrance, adjustment layer. Let's see another magic we can do. Let's make some magic. Hue and saturation, color balance. Oh yeah, I use color balance when I'm done editing a picture just to give it a feel. So you see the feel, but yet it's only working on the selection. If you don't want it to work on the selection, click on your image. Color balance. You can just tilt it. Do you see that? So it's I would really not advise you to push it to red, because the skin tone of almost every human you have on this earth is between red and orange, and I think there's another variation, but mostly all of our skins are made up of red and orange. So by the time you start pushing it to red, you see that it starts to mess with your skin tone, except if there's one creative effect you want to do. That is the exception, but outside that, I will advise against it. Unless you want to push it to red, invert the marks, then paint over the part you want it to just affect, then that would be brilliant. Ctrl Z. You could use this for color balancing, anything you want to do. And this is just for the main tone section, so you could change it to shadows, to highlights, so that's another option we have here. Another thing we could do is black or white, reminds me of Michael Jackson. So black and white, you come in, double click on it, you see, even your black and white is made up of various colors. You have red, yellow, green, cyan, blue, magenta. So I guess that's RGB and CMYK. CMYK, cyan, yellow, blue, CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Do we have black here? No. Okay. We have cyan, magenta, and yellow, no black. But we have red, green, and blue. So you can play with this depending on what you want to do. You're free to be creative. Photoshop, art, design, it's all about creativity. So you're only limited by how far you can see. And a creative mind can see a whole lot. Color lookup. Okay, I've not used this specifically, but from what we have here, load 3D load. So for those who color grade or color correct with presets, LUT, that's your load. I guess that's your. You can load it. You could just get it as a preset to apply it on some of your images. So for those that do color grading and color correction, either with DaVinci Resolve or with Premiere Pro or with Adobe Lightroom, they really understand this. So you could just do some further research on LUTs, but you could get some LUTs online. You know, it also depending on the camera you are using to shoot, you could also get some LUTs to give you some preset or to give you a background, something to start working with when you are grading your pictures or when you are grading your video, even if it's color correction. So that's what you have here for color lookup. I'm gonna turn it off. Then what else do we have here? We have photo filter. Photo filter, one filter. Let me turn this off. Let's see what it does. So what it does is like Instagram filter, but then you have control over your color. You know, Instagram just gives you some things to work with, so you just have to use what you're given. Turn it off. Turn it off. You can see the effect. I believe you can see the effect. Let's go for something drastic. Red is always drastic. You can see that, very obvious. Then you can also work on the density. That's photo filter. You know, from even the icon, it's like when you place a lens. When you place a filter, yeah, you could call it a filter or something like. Something like this, but a lot of lenses comes with dials, so you just place it in front of your lens, and what it does is to change the feel. You know, you could do that with color grading, but you could also do that with filters or background changes. So now remember what I told you about inverting with Control I? It's actually a function. What you have from here, these are your adjustment layers up here. So the invert option, let us look at it again. So remember the black and white? Come here, invert. You see what it does? It just flips the whole thing. Flips the whole thing. So let me invert it again. Invert. Alright. Delete. 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 Turn it off. Come back here. Threshold. I don't remember using. Oh. Okay, I remember what I used threshold for last. I think that must have been 2 years ago now. I use it for removing signature from paper. So for those of you like, if you check most popular brands, especially for footballers, I think when they are wearing their tracksuit, sometimes you see their signature right there on their clothes. There are a lot of ways to remove the signature from a paper that as if the person did not sign to you from on a Wacom tab, or you're not given a PNG file. You could use blend mode to remove it in Photoshop. That's when I tell you blend mode, this is what I mean. Let me create a new layer. Double click here. So these blending options, by the time you come here, if it is on a white background, you come here, by the time you move this, it will be erasing the white background of the paper. So it depends, you can play with this to remove it. But then what I did was to work with threshold. So what threshold does is to just give you very high contrasts. So it makes everything that is black more black, everything that is white more white, so it crushes your image. So threshold, that is what I used it for last. So you can move around, you see what it does. This is cool. You could use this to create. This is reminding me of all these old story books, maybe back in the 90s, in the 80s, where you'd have some black and white images from what you see here. So I could give you some illustration. So this is even a creative idea. Imagine you were working on a brand that wants to sort of relate something back to the 60s or to the 80s. These are also creative concepts. So I'll just save this as 80s. Who cares what as PNG? 80s. Let me call it 80s. Threshold gradient map. Oh yeah, I remember. Do I remember using gradient map? 2y. Let's see. Double click here. So what the gradient map helps you do is you can pick two colors you want to work with. But why am I choosing red though? Red is usually so mean. So if you want to do some creative stuff, especially for designers or there's some UI UX guys. Funny how UI UX is actually under graphics design. So it's under field you can pursue as a graphics designer. So when you check types of graphics designers, UI UX are also graphic designers. But what they do is they prototype websites, they prototype applications, just like architecture for building. So this is your gradient map. You could mess with various color. And the last thing we have is selective color. Yeah, I also use selective color while doing frequency separation. So what it does is you can boost a particular color. Yeah, that's what it does. You see, when I go to science, so it just works like a color balance, but then you can't necessarily see the intensity of the color while looking at the sliders. So what you have to do is just play around. You see there, you have more red and orange on my skin, and trust me, I don't want that to look like I bleached. And when you're editing pictures, you always want them to look like the original. You don't want to finish a picture and it's looking like somebody else. I think that's one of the things with this, is it neural filter, one of the recent updates with Photoshop 2022, where you can take a picture in the summer, apply a filter, and it looks like you took it in the winter. Photo filter like that, depending on what you want to do. So just be creative. Anything you're doing, just be creative and just do it. And so I guess this will wrap off everything that we need to learn under adjustment layer. Because yeah, we've covered everything that is here. We've covered solid color. Did we cover gradient? No, we did not cover gradient. This is gradient. You see, it is cool. So what you have here is, what I just did there was to click and drag. You could just do some creative stuff. I could change the way it is affecting my image. I kind of prefer the way it was before. I guess that was 90 degree. Then we can reverse it, Data, what does that do? I don't remember using data. Another feature I don't really get is legacy mode in Photoshop. Then align with layer is going to just make it align with the design on that particular layer. So method in here, you see that? Method classic. I think I prefer perceptual. You can change the color if you want. You could give it a feel, You could sample colors. This is cool. I like this. So everything is just creativity. You just have to be creative. And yeah, the part that is transparent, you can actually change it to any color you want, though. You could, but you see, you could. So you're just limited by your imagination. That's your only limitation. So if you can think of it, you can do it. Or because you can think of flying above the earth without anything, does not mean it will actually happen. But then if you can actually think of it, you can do it. Quick export as PNG. And what are we testing here? We're testing gradients. What else do we have? Pattern. Let's see pattern. So let's see. You could pick some very funny patterns. You could just play around what you want. So you could change the angle. I prefer the way it was before. It's a 4. It was definitely not 54. Okay, I like this. So what you can do is you can change the blend mode. You see that everything is all about your level of creativity. You could do a lot of stuff, depending on the concepts you want to achieve. You could reduce the opacity. It's looking crazy, but trust me, there are a lot of designs that you see out there. It is basic stuff that actually sells the design, and you'll be shocked. So it's always good to know the potential of the software you're working with, so it makes you more flexible. And if you can think like the software you're working on, you'll be able to achieve stuff better. You'll be able to make your designs faster, and you'll be more productive. So in everything, always try to achieve mastery. And that'll be all for our Photoshop tutorial. Once again, shout out to Active Leaders for making this tutorial very possible, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Very important. Bye. Lest I forget, how to save. Ctrl S to save. Click on your computer. Let's go back to our exhibit B, shoot B. What do we save this as? Lesson, okay. Inside should be, let's call it exhibits. And that is how you save it. See you in the next tutorial. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment. Don't forget all of the social media handles I mentioned before. Also, don't forget Active Leaders Online, my humble self, and thank you.